a win I wanted to share with you. Or I've already made this in the past, I think, 3 months, half of last year's revenue.
Hold on, say that again.
I've done in the past 3 months half of last year's revenue.
So, in what you usually took to make in half a year, you've done now in a quarter.
Yeah, which is insane. I remember we started working together. I was doing like 4K months, 3K, 4K months, barely paying rent. And now today I actually have 4 times that monthly revenue, 3, 4 times. So it's really a like surreal moment
Yeah.
being like, wow, okay. And it wasn't linear. Like this didn't happen progressively. It sort of happened very fast at the end. But it does feel like a lot of things that we've worked on the past 2 years are sort of compounding, and that's a really, really good feeling. I think what I'm really extra proud is that I genuinely love the business that I built. Like I'm not triple the size and triple unhappy because I had to do things or I work with people I don't want to work with. And that's a great feeling. And then you can slap onto that. I'm at my best physical shape I've ever been, which is crazy. Like to be able to knock out that and still be at my best physically. I don't know. It feels like this weird moment where I'm like, yeah, I knocked out what I set out to do here. There's less of a sense of urgency. And I feel like a lot of the things that I want to work on right now and how I think they're more long term, they're more strategic. I have more space to do that instead of being ultra responsive and reactive. I think is the good word here. So as you sort of going back to the first question, what are my goals? Well, I'm on track to hit the revenue goal I set out for myself. I'm way beyond the fitness goals that I set out initially together. And so I think this next chapter for me is it's to keep doing this stuff that works
Yeah.
and just do more of it.
Emile, your story is one that required a lot of resilience because you had to push through a period of time where you almost going to stop. Do you remember? We actually,
Oh yeah.
I started coaching you pro bono during this time, one of these times, I believe. I'd like to take a moment to reflect on your story because it's very relatable and it reminds us of gratitude as well. But can you take me back to the time that how long we were into our uh, mentoring coaching, and then at what point you were considering that the highest point of challenge for you, and then how long it took after that for you to overcome that and get to this point?
I think the biggest challenge came last fall. So that's a year and a half into our mentoring. I think I almost quit in November. End of October, start of November, I was gonna quit.
It's 3 4 months ago.
Yeah. And November was the one of the hardest months I had to go through. And then December, January, February, that's when I felt like, okay, something changed here. I did a few good moves, didn't quit, and got through that hard period. And
What was that? What was our tipping points? The needle movers that got you over that you had to wait to bear fruit.
oh yeah, I'd say one of the biggest ones was breaking the ice and getting an employee, sort of delegating some of my time. But this was not the first employee I had. I think what was different here is my ability to lead was much better. And by leading better, I think that those were all the skills of getting very clear on what are the outcomes that I needed or that I need from her. Time allocation, priorities. These are all sort of small stuff and small skills that we were just practicing and doing in a bunch of different contexts. Then I was able to sort of communicate that to my employee. And that just made a huge, huge difference. Switching from working in the business to on the business. That's like, it's so hard when you're like in it,
Yeah.
when you have both your feet, like you feel like you cannot step out, but you actually have to step out. You have to do it. And so the employee kind of was the gateway to a bunch of those things, being being able to work more on the business. I'd say those are pretty big. And I'd have to add, this one's probably hard to measure, but my ability to work during that really, really hard period, I think what really prepared me well was the training. Like my ability to just knock out some massive, massive days and still be able to like keep going. Training was a big part of it as a way of just building that mental endurance and being able to sort of just put my headphones on, go out for a run, and then come back and reset. That was big for me.